Hey guys, here we are going to go into round 3 of the Kell Brook vs. Errol Spence film study, Building a House. So far we've seen Kell Brook not really setting up his offense too much. He uses a little bit of feints and then kind of uses his athleticism to try and land his straight right. He does a little bit of hand fighting and stuff, but Frankie Gavin doesn't really engage him. And then he does show that once he gets to touch gloves with him, off the hand fighting to kind of lull him to sleep, he'll throw a punch. And it's really clever that sometimes he does it with the right hand. I like that. But usually he's sticking to it as a jab. But not too much feinting and probing from Kell Brook to set up his offense, which means that he's going to be in danger of being counterpunched if Errol Spence ever decides to learn to counterpunch or to counterpunch in the course of the fight. We didn't see a lot of that during the Chris Algieri fight. Most of the time when Chris Algieri would come forward, Errol Spence would just back up in a straight line. So far, all of the counters that Frankie Gavin has landed against Kell Brook have been really great body shots with the left hand. And that's going to be something that Kell Brook needs to work on. You know, with the little shift inside after he throws the right hand, he's going to have to close the distance a little quicker. Otherwise, that left-hand body shot is going to be there. So I anticipate that fighting on these axes, the fight is going to be, so far it's going to be really exciting, really fast-paced and interesting. A kind of, anything could happen with that notion being predicated on Spence's power. And some of the traps that Kell Brook is setting up leave himself open for the body shot. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into round 3 and see if we can get Kell Brook to see if he starts setting up any of his punches a little better. All right, coming out, feinting a little bit. And like subtle feints, feinting right there, taking a step back, being prepared for the counters, because I think he's trying to bait Gavin into throwing, right there. So he's baiting him into countering, and then countering his counter. So he shoots a punch, he counters, and then he tries to counter too. I think that's what happened. Boom, boom. Yeah. And I think Frankie Gavin being the only one that lands a punch there. Not bad right there. With the active guard, he's able to sneak that punch in there. Shows him a little hand feint. Gets on top of his head and Frankie Gavin spins out. Some good head movement from Kell right there before he goes in. Again, shows him the jab, and it's a throwaway jab. It's not a real jab. It's a probing jab. I do think he kind of gets countered there and kind of gets his glove on his head, But that's really smart of him to probe that shot, even though he does kind of take a shot to do it. But working on it. He's working on it. And there you go. He gets him right there. Baits him into a shot. And now the reason that's important is he's cutting off the ring, right? And he's just about to get to the point where the ring is completely cut off. So when he's trying to change direction, he throws a punch, which is smart. But he should be doing it with a feint rather than like a fully committed punch, right? Because what he's doing is he's acting first, right? Putting himself out of position. And Kell Brook has the perfect time to react to it, right, and gets him with the counter. And it's the same counter that he's been trying to set up. There he goes. Changes head slots and then disguises the straight right hand. So he goes from here, moves to his left, and then shoots the straight right hand. What does he do after that? Does he shift? Yeah, he shifts in, but Gavin just takes a step back. Not really interested in getting tangled up with Kell. And then after Kell throws that, so he throws it, boom. And notice how high his left hand is, right? He gets his glove up just in case there's a punch coming back, right? He sees Frankie Gavin bringing his hand up, and he's like, no, just kidding. And he comes in with the hook, right? He telegraphs it. It's super obvious, right? Misses, but controls his head and pulls himself in. So that's really good. Ooh, does Frankie land a body shot after that? Yeah, he does. And that's something that that Errol Spence does really well, is after the break finding openings, or like on the break, or while they're breaking, or while they're separating. Errol Spence is very active during that time, and that's going to be something that Kell Brook needs to watch out for. He can't just be exiting exchanges like this. Like, he had a little bit of control of his head right here, right? And then he kind of just takes a step back with the jab a little bit, but not all the way out, and gets countered with the body shot. That's going to be something he needs to work on for sure. Again, trying to counter him. Touching gloves, giving him different looks. And right here, when he gets feinted, ready for the left hand counter, or the straight left hand. Again, the jab comes out, he moves his head, and would get underneath the straight left if it came to. Smart move. Still not able to get away probably from the body shot if it were to come. And I think that the way that Chris Algieri was able to get away from it, from the straight left hand, was having good head movement, and that caused Spence rightly started going to the body rather than trying to land headshots. Although sometimes he would bring it up the middle, like it was gonna be a body shot. He'd get real low and then throw it up, and it would come up and catch him. I think Brook will be able to get his hand in front of that one if he does it like that. But I think that Spence will be able to land the body shot regardless, because Brook doesn't seem to be getting away from it, and he's been hit with a couple, Again, really smart. Boom, body shot. Now it doesn't land, right? He misses the jab. And gets his head kind of controlled, right? And then he kind of misses the body shot. But the body shot's there. That's the important part, right? It's not that he doesn't land it. Like, that's not what we're talking about, because we're talking theoretically about Errol Spence, who has much better tools than Frankie Gavin. But anyway, misses the shot, pulls him in, and maybe he does get his elbow on it, and that's why it misses. Because it does look like actually Kell Brook here in this instance might have deflected it. But if he were to... and look at how he's controlling the left hand so he can't throw it while they're tangled up right there. Well, he's got the overhook right there. Really smart. Kell Brook definitely working on that. I guess he's kind of sensed that he's been getting hit with the body shot a little too much. So making a good adjustment. As long as he can turn that into part of his craft for fighting a left-hander, he's going to have a lot of success against Errol Spence. But Errol Spence is a lot quicker, and Errol Spence he's rabid in the clinch. He works really hard in the clinch. And another thing that we haven't really seen is Errol Spence works really hard also to get his hand on top of your head, right? To get his hand behind your neck, right? Something that Kell Brook is doing to Frankie Gavin, and having a lot of success stifling his offense with. So it'll be interesting how they both kind of vie for that and to see who comes out on top. Although, Kell Brook doesn't ever usually put his head down. He's usually got pretty good posture. So I think Errol Spence is going to have a hard time pulling his head down. And I hope that is the case, and that there doesn't wind up being a lot of holding and hitting and such. But throws the jab, and I think, he anticipates the counter and starts immediately throwing his hook. Misses it. Tries to catch him with some shots on the inside. This would definitely not happen against Errol Spence. Errol Spence, well, he very likely wouldn't dip down like that. But Gavin does do a good job of turning away from the punch and not taking a shot. Again, I think that jab actually lands. And I wonder if that's a product of Frankie Gavin's guard and not being super easy to time. Because he's a little less stale and his punches are a little less easy to predict. But when he does get in here, Kell gets his hand on his head and is able to control him and stop any other additional offense, even though he's not trying to land any, he's just trying to get away from the ropes, so good for him. Ooh, some interesting stuff here. Leans in, double right hand, shifts, uppercut. Ooh. Kell Brook, or Errol Spence would be proud, holding his head right there, throwing a body shot, pushing him back into the corner while he moves directions and moves and shifts like basically south of Frankie Gavin to get a better angle on his punches. Body shot, pivots out, and then they kind of break. But not a lot of wasted energy right there from Brook. Let's go back and look at that again. I want to see that again. Boom. Yeah, that was really good. The right hand, then probes with the second one and catches him with the right hook thing or the right uppercut. And he finds all the openings, and he doesn't kind of go crazy. He doesn't waste a lot of energy, like looking for punches that aren't there. Doing a good job when he has them on the ropes and knowing, when there's no more punches available. Again, right here. I wonder if this becomes a trend too, something you can read him for when he dips to the side. Although he's used a lot of different looks when he throws that right hand. Sometimes his left hand is down. This time he brings it up like it's high guard. And again, Errol Spence doesn't have very good head movement, so he's going to be there to hit. So after he throws the right hand, he kind of throws another one, controls his head right there, and then controls his head from the other side and spins out, gets out of the way of punches. Doing some good things, and because Errol Spence is not a counterpuncher, I kind of feel like there's going to be a lot of times where he's able to land these punches and be relatively safe, especially if right here after he throws it, right, boom, boom, and then he controls his head and moves out like he did right there. I think that's going to be something he's going to need to focus on, making sure he doesn't stay on the line for Errol Spence to counter him or land punches after. And right here, this is beautiful. He times his jab, right, lands a right hand, and then defensively responsible, whether a punch is coming back or not, rolls the punch. That's something that Floyd Mayweather does 100% of the time, always respecting your opponent and his counters or your opponent's. And he doesn't, he didn't do it against Pacquiao, and that's why he got countered with that big left hand in the fourth round. But this is why you always want to do it, or that is why you always want to do it. And it's nice to see Brook doing that to avoid counter shots or to avoid just punches that he's open for, right? Because after your opponent throws a punch right there, you're just quote unquote naturally open for a counter from that side of the body, because that's the side of the body that you punched from. So he gets under it, really smart, and then kind of walks in. I think that punch is kind of telegraphed, but he does the right thing, lands the shot, boom, controls him with his arm, and then throws another shot. Really interesting shifting here. He shifts after that right hand, and it keeps him from being off balance, right? And then comes in with the jab. Ooh, a faux jab, and catches him with the big shot. And then after the punch, controls him, lands another shot, looks for... this is punching, right? Like, these are the kind of skills that big punchers need, right? Really classy stuff. And notice how he probes before almost all of these punches, right? Control him, right? Then throws a big shot. Knows where he's going to be. Controls him right here. Holds him up. Knows that punch is going to be there, right? He just controlled him. His opponent's waiting for him. Lands it. Controls his head now. And then he's out. Okay, what's open? Okay, quick. Oh, control him again. Straight left. I think it's a left now down the pipe. An uppercut again. Knows the body shot's going to be open. And that's like that punch right there. And that's not even like a real punch, right? Boom. You know, just controlling. Then a jab again to control him. And then that's the only punch that he really misses, right? The rest of them are just like, you know, probing. Knows he just finds the offense just so well. And then only misses one punch. You know, doesn't waste a lot of energy. He does a lot of great things right there. I think he does that. He does a better job on the ropes than Errol Spence does. Errol Spence misses a lot of punches. And he also gets countered a lot because he's not controlling. Because Errol Spence is not always controlling his opponent. I didn't even see. I just rewind this like 4 times and didn't even see what happened at all. Oh, I think his arm gets caught after the jab. Boom. Yeah, their arms kind of tangle up. And right there, man, this is something that he's really going to need to work on. Frankie Gavin gets lead foot dominance, and then bam, cracks him with the left hand and then spins out. Kell Brook is going to need to work on that a little bit because Errol Spence is way better inside than Frankie Gavin is. And standard, you know, jab, gets on top of him so you can't punch him. Referee breaks him. Very fair referee. You know, that was really good. I'm glad that he's stepping in. Ooh. Jab, but he's only committing to one punch right there. You can kind of tell. Oh, man. And then just walks in with the right hand again. And then he closes the distance again. Puts his arm in his neck like that. I don't have a problem with that, you know. Because Frankie Gavin, if he wanted to, he could just move back. He could just take a step back, and then he's no longer got an arm in his neck, you know. But if he wants to continue being bodied up, although it is Kell Brook that's entering his space, he's not holding him there. Well, he is right there, you know, but you know what I mean. And oh yeah, I'm like, what is going on right here? He's fighting southpaw, that's why. Good movement. I wouldn't recommend fighting southpaw too much. Ooh. Eating a jab right there, and as he eats the jab, he spins out. Really good right there. At least a decent defense after to make sure he doesn't take any follow-up punches. And again, right there, really smart, right? Throws the right hand and then rolls what would be a left hook. Really smart. It's good to have like an active kind of defense like that. And make sure that you're not just getting hit with punches for no reason. But look at Kell Brook getting hit with the jab right here. You know, you might say, oh, it's because, like I said in the Errol Spence video, Algieri is Algieri, right? What's the risk, right? You already know, you felt his punches. But the fact is, we're seeing him, you know, be lulled to sleep or whatever. Like, we know he kind of has the skills to not be hit by punches like this, but he's showing that he's not always super hard to hit either. And one thing I want to point out about that is, so he throws that, and now look at his hands. Look at his hands and look at his head. There's no head movement. There's no hand movement. He's completely stale for these next few seconds. Boom, and eats a shot. Then throws a counter that doesn't make it there because he's not really even ready, because he's not on his rhythm or nothing. He's not moving. And then eats another counter. You know, it's really important, even against, you know, like C- level fighters, to have an active guard. You know, don't be just standing straight up in an unathletic posture. You're not going to be able to respond to punches. Then him doing what he's been doing the whole time, commits to a punch, knows the counter's coming back, rocks back, misses the counter to the counter. And I'm not sure what happens here, but throws a jab. I think he kind of stuffs that one on his face. It might hit his arm. I'm going to try to watch really close. It looks like it might land. I'm not sure. But then he steps in, shifts, and tries to smother his work. Controls his head and pushes him off. That's what he needs to do right there. He needs to control his head and push him off. None of those breaks, because Errol Spence is going to be clobbering him on the inside if he doesn't. See, there you go. At least have some head movement, right? A little bit of head movement, a little bit of hand movement, and throw a punch. Again, they wrap up a little bit, and Kell Brook pulls an Errol Spence and catches him on the way out. And that's exactly what Errol Spence is going to be doing all night. His foot kind of gets tangled when they go for lead foot dominance right there. No big deal. There you go. Showing him a different guard, right? Giving him a different look. Not the greatest head movement, but I think he eats a left hand right here too. I really don't think he should be doing this. Reaching for this body shot. Gets his head controlled, and I think he eats a left right there. I'm not sure if it lands. It doesn't really matter, but Errol Spence is going to be able to land short shots like that for sure. Another body shot again. It's not super clear body shot, but it doesn't matter. Tools, right? Errol Spence has a little bit better tools than that. Sneaky right hand again. Controls his head. I think he does. I don't know. He's done it every other time, but the angle right here is very poor. But shifts in and bodies up with him just like they're orthodox fighters. And that's the end of the round. Now, Kell Brook hasn't been showing that he's been setting up his offense very well, right? He's kind of just been either committing to a jab or committing to his straight right hand and leaving himself like pretty open for counter punches. I probably said it 100 times already, but Errol Spence so far in his career has shown that he doesn't. Not only is he not a counter puncher, but he doesn't know how to counter punch, right? I kind of described him at the end of the video as like a very physically gifted brawler, right? He's got very sharp tools. He's very fast. He's sharp. He hits really hard, but he's a puncher. You know, not a brawler. Sorry, a puncher. You know, he's looking to set up big punches. You know, and just land them when you get against the ropes. You know, not really necessarily like set up punches, but just throw hard punches. You know, and that's very dangerous. You know, if your opponent gets you against the ropes and you just let them open up on you, you know, if you do that for 5 or 6 rounds and say they throw, you know, they do that twice a round and they throw 5 punches each time for 10 rounds or for 5 rounds, that's 100 punches that you just let them throw at you while you sit against the ropes. If they land only 1% of those and they're a big puncher like Errol Spence, they could knock you out, right? So I think for a lot of times that's Errol Spence's kind of game plan, you know, get you on the ropes and then just unleash a huge flurry of punches. Because he doesn't set up his offense in very many other ways aside from setting up lead foot dominance. And Kell Brook has shown mildly that he's prepared for dealing with that. He knows how important it is to stop your opponent from doing it, so he does make attempts. But there are still holes in his control game. When Frankie Gavin, a much less sharp he owns much less sharp tools than Errol Spence, is still able to land some punches, you know. Anyway, so yeah, it's going to be a really interesting fight because neither fighter so far spends very much time setting up their offense, which means that both fighters are going to be taking a lot of risks when they do set their offenses up, aside from the times where Kell Brook is countering. Yeah, so so far it's still shaping up to be a really fun and interesting fight. Well, anyway, that's going to be the end of this round. I'll do the last 3 rounds tomorrow. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm missing anything. I love having like actual boxing debates with people about things. I don't like people just calling me a hater for no reason, though. I think that's kind of ludicrous. I don't really care who wins the fights. Remember, guys, I don't care. I just like good boxing. I just want to see good fights. I just want to see skills, you know, boxing skills. People try hard and whatever. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe. Share my videos. Yeah, thanks, guys.